Hi friends, and welcome to Costuming in Color, a YouTube show dedicated to showing amazing costumers of color and those that support them.
I'm Gigi, a cultural history buff, avid historical costumer, and dabblist.
And I'm Noelle, a costumer who likes to play both sides of the historical and cosplay world.
Today we are interviewing Nami. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
We're so glad to have you here. But first, some house rules. The first rule of Costuming in Color is what?
The first rule is tell everyone about these interviews so they can come and get to know these amazing costumers. Also, let us know who you'd like to see interviewed.
We have a form linked down below if you would like to do that. The second rule is that kindness matters, and other than that, there are no rules.
So let's get into it.
Nami, where are you from originally?
So I am born and raised in New Jersey, specifically South Jersey, but my family is from India.
Cosplay, historical, or both?
Both.
What is your internet handle and why did you choose it?
So my internet handle is currently Nami Sparrow, but for anybody who's been following me for a while, they probably know me by Nami Cosplay, and I had been that since 2014 when I first got a cosplay that people were like, show us pictures, and I was like, but I don't want to talk to strangers. So I made that, and I made it because my name is Nami and I like cats and Japanese, so Nami. But now I decided to change it to Nami Sparrow because I am making more of an effort to not do only cosplay, and I want to do more historical stuff. So although I did say both previously, I haven't actually done anything purely historical yet, but it's coming. But I chose Nami Sparrow because my last name actually means sparrow.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Nami Cosplay was because you were like the Necronomicon, but the whole time I was like, when I first met you, I was like, oh, this girl's hardcore. And then I met you and I'm like, no.
You thought I was hardcore, but in fact, I'm just cats.
Just cats. Yeah. I like that much better, actually. You're less terrifying than I thought you were going to be.
Oh man, anybody who thinks I'm terrifying has not actually spoken a word to me, because apparently I do have like resting bee face, but like the minute I open my mouth, it's like very obvious I'm not like that.
So Nami pinged me at one point because I was looking for people to do collaborations with for COVID, and that's how I met her. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I met her and I was like, not at all what I expected at all.
You expected hardcore necromancer. Instead, you got bubbles.
Well, you also have all these cosplay pictures of you like kind of in hardcore like cosplay, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be intense. And then I'm like, oh yes it is, but like the other kind of intense, like fun intense.
So since you haven't started your historical endeavors yet, tell us what fashion periods you're interested in.
So I am most interested in 18th century. This can very much be traced back to an obsession with Pirates of the Caribbean. It's also why people assume that the sparrow is for Jack Sparrow. It's not, but it could be. But it's not. But yeah, no, basically I just want to recreate that Elizabeth Swann dress where she cries about the corset, except she doesn't cry about the corset because first of all, they're stays, and second of all, they're not that bad. They're lovely.
Stays are very comfortable. I don't know what, like,
so
you can't complain about stays there. If you made them right, they're very comfortable.
Literally, I wish I could wear my stays everywhere all the time. But the ones that I have currently fully made have like 300 eyelets because I wanted to be fancy and pretty and make the like 16th, 17th century ones. And they came out really nice, but I only used 2 layers, and one of them is like a raw silk, so not stable enough. Those ripped.
Oh, ouch. I was going to say having more eyelets is actually better. It's A, more comfortable, and B, it should make it more stable.
It did, but it also didn't because like I said, I was pretty dumb with that one. But the good news is that I actually learned how to darn and I fixed them up pretty darn well.
Har, har, har.
No, it's ar, matey. What type of cosplay characters do you gravitate towards?
So I'm kind of all over the place. The main draw for me is that it has to be something that I would want to wear. And that could sort of range a broad spectrum of places. So it could just be something that is cool or extravagant or insane. but it has to be something that I look at and I'm like, I want that on my body. And then coupled with that, I do have to actually like the character. If I don't like the character, I'm not going to like dedicate my time to making that character. And my to make list at this point is literally like hundreds of things long. So I've made it like a point to sort of go back and purge them as things don't spark joy anymore, because I have so many projects that I bought fabric for and just never got around to. And it's been like 4 years and I literally still have it sitting in a bin marked for this project. And then I just never touched it. And I'm like, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to be slightly more responsible.
It's hard to manage the list, like for sure.
God.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have one line item on my list that says 399 bustle dresses. And I'm like, well, I guess that's my list for my life.
I need you to know that every single time I see that like line on your list, a part of me just goes, yes, and a part of me just goes, no.
Yeah, same. I was really excited when it used to say 400 and then I did one and I was like, eek, 400, 399.
It's just so satisfying.
I felt like that guy at Nightmare Before Christmas who's like 364. Like
that is who you are. Yeah, there's literally a space on my wall for a whiteboard that I will inevitably get one day just so I could actually write things on them and erase them. Because as much as I like checking things off on a to-do list, just erasing it, just
I cross it off for the people who need to see me cross it off, and then my joy is to erase it. Erase it and then like move everything else up. Like rewriting your list. I'm that girl.
Rewriting it.
Not my favorite task. How did you get started in costuming?
So I started costuming in freshman year of high school, the 9th grade. So in 8th grade, at the end of the year, one of my friends, or a couple of my friends, actually went to a convention and they came back and they were like, Nami, it was so cool. Everyone was dressed as Naruto characters. You should come with us. And I was like,
okay.
Yeah. Basically, like, heck yeah. So I spent the next year making a Kurenai Yuhi costume from Naruto. It is very terrible. There's only one picture remaining of it, and it is like a side profile view. And like there was literally like a hole under the armpit because I couldn't put sleeves in right. Like the stripes on the dress are done poorly with Sharpie that was bleeding. It is an absolute disaster, but I'm still so happy I did it because it was like first costume ever. And oops, here I am.
What aspects of costuming drew you to this? Like, why do you costume?
So I've always been a really crafty and creative person, and I've always really liked to sew, but I didn't like I learned how to sew and embroider when I was young, but I didn't really have a reason to keep doing it. And then cosplay gave me a chance to use that skill set. And I really love like the creation part of it. Let it be known that I often don't have the best craftsmanship or like finishing because I function almost purely in con crunch, which is start and finish the project the week of the convention.
Oof.
Because I'm an insane person.
Yeah.
But also, it's been like about 2 years since I've done that because, cons that have been happening. And then in the time that I was making costumes before the quarantine started, I was also doing my master's, so I couldn't really churn out new costumes as often. So I had to, time manage. And now I think that I might be a bit too old and exhausted to do that anymore. Because let's be fair, a lot of that was driven with like, mid-teenage energy, which I frankly don't have anymore. So we'll see if that ever comes back. I doubt it will, but I still do have that joy in creating. And I've sort of switched during this lockdown time to just making things that I feel like making, whether or not it's directly costume related. But the good part about that is that I've still been piecing together like some historical looks while still making things that can work for everyday wardrobe stuff, or making, dream projects that didn't really have a place to go. Finally working on a sack gown, all that jazz,
I'm excited for that sack gown. That's good. That's a ridiculous situation you have going there, and I couldn't be excited about it any more than I am.
I am literally trying to decide if I want to make the petticoat completely out of fur. So
oh yeah, could you like sew bells onto it and stuff too?
I absolutely could. I will literally be walking Christmas. Also, let it be known, one of my big plans is to go full Marie Antoinette boat hair, but instead of a boat, it's a sleigh.
Oh yeah. I've always wanted one of the do's with like the entire hunt sequence on it, like dogs and like the fox running and then the people on the horses. Yeah. So like you could do one with the full like reindeer and sleigh and like little rooftops.
That is so good.
I'm just saying.
There's endless possibilities here, and I love
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah. You could even do like fluffy clouds, like sticking out from it. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
This is going to be, it just keeps escalating. And the best part about not finishing it for Christmas of the recent past is that I now have Christmas of the far future.
Yeah, you have 11 months to get this done.
That time.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about an epic project that you were in the middle of, what is your favorite or most epic completed project?
So my latest one would definitely be my Final Fantasy 14 dancer. This is, this is one of those like skimpy costumes that is like absurdly difficult to make and just involved making a whole lot of jewelry and accessories. And I learned how to use my embroidery machine for this to make the embroidery on the skirt flaps. I hand painted the flowers on the lining. I literally hand sculpted jewelry for this using thermoplastics. And then I also just went the full jewelry making route and like used jewelry findings and stuff like that to make other things. I also made, so the character is a Viera from Final Fantasy, so they're like the bunny girls basically. So I made the bunny ears out of wefts to match the actual wig that I wear it with. So like I went really hardcore on this, and this was the first time that I actually like spent a lot of time to do a project right. And this was also the first time that I got like, so this was the main thing, the main reason that I didn't make a lot during my master's, because I was working on this. And I got burnt out and discouraged a lot of times because it's a strapless top, and any busty gals will know that strapless tops, especially tube tops, are not always flattering on a big bust. And even if they are flattering, they don't stay up. And I just had a lot of difficulties making it look the way that I wanted. And just as something would look nice, I would realize something was going wrong. So I got, really upset. And it was around this time that I fully dived into watching costubers and kind of getting the joy of watching people like creating or push past barriers in creating, and just reminding me that hand sewing was a thing and taking things slowly on a project was a thing. And I remember there was specifically like a couple videos. One of them was just Noelle at one point, and one of her, things just being like, just do the thing. Like, it's okay, just do it. And I was like, all right, you know what? Yeah. And then another thing was like, there was a Bernadette video where she was like hand sewing, and she's like, yeah, sometimes I've realized that like taking it slowly on projects is what gives me joy, and like really taking the time to do it right. And at this point I had been like speeding through all of my builds that I was like frantic energy. And I kind of stopped and I hand sewed something that I didn't need to hand sew at all. And I was like, you know what? I care about this thing again. And then I finished it. And then I've been like actually upgrading things that I didn't like on it for like the last year, which feels really nice because usually I'll finish something and whether it's finished or not, cough, missing closures, cough, it'll just sit in a corner and that's how it'll be worn for the rest of forever. So I'm really proud of it because it was a challenging project. I pulled through, and I've also been upgrading as I could or as I wanted to, which has never happened before.
So I have a bonus question for you. Maybe since you said this outfit is super skimpy, can you talk a little bit about that, about like the experience of choosing to make a costume that doesn't have a lot of coverage and then wearing it out in public?
So one thing I will say, if you don't feel comfortable wearing something skimpy, absolutely don't. You do not have to. Never go past your comfort zone. If you want to push yourself to try to do something like that, you can do it, but make sure you're pushing yourself for the right reasons. Like you don't need to wear like a skimpy outfit or like a sexy outfit to be like a more loved cosplayer. That's absolutely false. Like you can keep doing what you want to do and not wear it and stay within your comfort zone. That is absolutely fine. However, if you do want to make skimpy cosplays, one of the most important things to understand with that is that it's really like craftsmanship matters even more than for other things. Because for other things you can fudge it and you can like safety pin it to your underclothes. You can put like, properly made underwear underneath and still wear your thing and still feel secure that even if your costume falls apart, you've still got, the real things underneath. Meanwhile, I actually sewed the bottoms for this. So if they fell off, like it was literally like, those were the panties, man. Like Like they had to be made right or they weren't gonna stay. And making underwear is so much more challenging than people understand, and making it right is so much more challenging. And that costume is just like, even though I feel like I made it right, I still cover myself in fashion tape when I wear it, because I'm like, what if it's not? Like, what if tragedies happen?
Yeah. Also, I just want to mention there can be full coverage with the illusion of skimpiness. Like if anyone here has ever been to a Hooters, which is, I mean, they make really good tater tots, just so we're clear. Those girls are fully dressed. They have tights on that are the same colors as their legs. So they're wearing short shorts, but they are in no way not covered. Even like sometimes parts of their tops are illusion mesh. And like, if you've ever seen like Olympic ice skating, those girls look like they're wearing nothing. They are fully covered. So, and when you do photography with illusion mesh, you can't tell that you're not actually just wearing a super skimpy thing. So if you feel uncomfortable wearing something that's super skimpy, you can use flesh colored fabric to give the illusion of it without having to be uncomfortable in public.
One of the biggest tricks I learned for cosplay was the existence of like Capezio dance tights, because they are basically solid. You cannot see through them.
Yeah.
It is impossible to see through them. And honestly, I do wear them with my dancer cosplay a lot, but also I wore my dancer cosplay in the middle of summer and it was literally too hot for tights. So, yeah. And I was comfortable to forego the tights, which is why I did, but also I wore them at Katsucon and I wore literally 3 pairs of the tights to keep myself warm. But so, you know, like there are things out there to do like the skimpy costumes if you really want to. If anybody's watched Kill la Kill, it's like my favorite anime, and it is absolutely fan service the anime, and just a lot of real questionable fashion choices there. But literally I have friends who've made those costumes and just all illusion mesh, all solid like dance tight, and you wouldn't be able to tell unless you like got really close to them or saw like the one seam on center back and you were like, oh, sorcery.
You're not naked. What?
Those are not real boobies.
Speaking of, what is the silliest thing that has ever happened to you during an event?
So, okay, so I've definitely told this story before, but I have to tell it again because it is sort of a classic. So like I said, I made my Nekonami cosplay handle in 2014 because I finally like had like a popular cosplay that people wanted to follow me for, and that was Nui from Kill la Kill. And Nui has giant pigtails, like literally like this big, and I made them because I was like, heck yeah, we're gonna do this hard. And so I made those and they were very big, and I kind of couldn't walk through doors with them at times, depending on, you know, door dimensions and people trying to walk next to me despite my hair, which was like, why would you do that? Can't you see? There's no space. So I met a really lovely person who had drawn art of me as Nui, and I was so incredibly touched and so like absurdly happy that I sort of freaked out and tried to hug them. And in the process of doing this, I ended up hitting them in the face with my pigtails. That were solid foam, and when I say solid foam, I mean like the expanding spray foam, so it like hardened, so like hardens, and it was like a solid thing, and it was like, and I just sort of stood there and I was like, oh my god, this person just did something so nice for me, and they gave me art of me, and I just kind of knocked them out. And it turned out okay though, because we basically stood there and laughed for like 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
It ended up good.
I'm glad it ended on a high note. What is your favorite costuming memory?
Ooh, okay. So, oh man, this one's kind of tough, you know, because I have a lot of like things that have happened and like friends that I've gotten from costuming, but I think one of my favorite ones would have to be at MagFest at 5 a.m. I want to say this was like 3 years ago-ish, somewhere around there. It was a while ago, but for some reason, my friends and I had decided to stay up all night, and we were just sort of, you know, rolling around, and somebody brought McDonald's and had ordered McDonald's chicken nuggets, 500 of them, and nobody knew where the chicken nuggets were. So I had heard this tale, and I started spreading it And I was like, guys, somebody's bringing McDonald's. There's McDonald's coming. There's McDonald's coming. And literally everybody crowded around the entrance of the hotel. And this man comes in just holding a giant box of McDonald's takeout. And everybody followed him in a parade. And we all just, sat down and had McDonald's at 5 a.m. And it was, not great food, but it was a great time. And it was just really nice.
The magic of con is a thing that is really hard to convey to people in a story, because you hear stories and you're like, okay, but like honestly, when it's happening, it is magical.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff at Dragon Con that's just
exactly no. Yeah. Oh my god, Dragon Con magic is wild. Can't even like convey the energy that happens there.
Yeah, and Comic-Con even too. Like I've been at Comic-Con and just been walking through my lobby and there's like super famous people just hanging out and you can just go hang out with them and like magical things happen. Like I've gotten invited on yachts, like things just happen. So yeah, if you go to con, be open to the magic.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Be willing.
Yeah. Be willing to say yes. That's a good time to say yes.
Whatever pill is the good pill. Which is the good pill? Just, I don't know, man. Take it. Take them both, I guess. I don't know. Can you take both? Is that against the rules?
Yeah.
Not both.
I haven't seen Matrix in a while, so I have no idea what I'm talking about.
What groups or orgs are you in?
So I'm actually not in any like formal costuming groups. Like you guys have like your costumer guilds and stuff for historical costuming, since I've mostly been cosplaying. But whenever there is a convention, I'm usually in like the fan page for that convention or like the group for people who attend that convention on Facebook. Just, a lot of Facebook groups like that. I'm in the Foundation's Revealed Stitchling group. I just joined this year. Awesome resource. I'm also in Kamui Cosplay, who's like known for like armor builds and stuff, has her own community where you can like, discuss builds and ask her advice and stuff like that. So I'm in that community as well. It's a really awesome resource. And yeah, so stuff like that, like Facebook groups, like things with friends that I've known, or like just events that I've gone to before, and people have been like, hey, check out this for the next time the event's happening. And then you can like get the schedule early, or I don't know, whatever happens on Facebook.
I will link Kamui Cosplay down below. Guys, if you need to make anything that even is vaguely like armor or is a prop of any kind, check her out. She also has these like crazy bundle sales on her books, and her books are PDF books, so you can just download them. I think they're only like $5, but she has crazy sales on those even, and you're like, what? Her instructions are awesome. She gives you patterns. Like if you need to build anything, she's the master. She's so good at what she does.
She has literally taught me like everything I know about armor making, and like granted, I go to other sources to find like other information or like very specific things if she doesn't have it, but she has almost everything these days. And she was one of the first people who started putting out these resources as well, which is really awesome. And she also includes, methods that include like, expensive thermoplastics, but also just literally foam for bats. So like you have everything in between. Additionally, if you are a new sewist, she does have a very basic how to sew book, which was, to me, finding her writing that book, I just had like a moment of like, I'm so proud of you, because she used to be like purely an armor person, and she like, took a step out of her comfort zone and did sewing. And this was back when I was like learning armor making from her and like watching her sewing and just being like, oh no, are you okay? But like she's leveled up so much, and she really makes an effort to share her knowledge, which is really awesome.
Yeah, she has a YouTube channel too.
What's the YouTube channel name?
Kamui Cosplay. Kamui Cosplay. Yeah, I'll link it down below also.
Awesome. What cons or events do you recommend, like highly recommend? You mentioned some already, but just give us a list.
Oof, okay. So my favorites are Katsucon and Dragon Con and MagFest. So MagFest and Katsucon both take place in the same place. It's the Gaylord Convention Center in Maryland. Yes, part of the amusement is because the place is called the Gaylord, and it makes me very happy.
It's like when I went to Lake Titicaca, I just sat there giggling the entire day. I was like,
I think the best part about the Gaylord too is that my friends and I have literally decided that if I ever drop a mixtape, it's going to be called Rhinestoning at the Gaylord, because when Yuri on Ice came out, my friend and I made Victor and Yuri ice skating costumes, and we had to rhinestone them, and we obviously didn't finish in time, so we were rhinestoning in their hotel room at like 11 p.m. on a Thursday night or something like that, and we were like, yeah, rhinestoning at the Gaylord.
Yeah.
But yeah, so MagFest is a gaming convention, and it's a lot less people. Katsucon is absurdly crowded, and it's like huge cosplay levels that beyond what you would logically expect to see.
Yeah.
Then I love Dragon Con. I have only been able to go twice because I haven't gone the last 2 years because quarantine, and I started my master's, so my classes had been going on at the same time and I couldn't do it. Oh man, it's been 3 years since I've gone. Oh, I just did that math. That made me sad. It's okay though, because when it comes back, it's gonna be amazing. And I think Noelle has probably mentioned this before, but like the costuming level that you see in Dragon Con is absurd. Like they literally have like costuming group gatherings at like almost every convention, and like usually it'll be like small, but at Dragon Con they will literally fill like a stadium style like platform of seating with people, like literally 50 to 100 people.
The Marvel group is usually a couple hundred people, and they take a picture of all several hundred of them together, which is really awesome.
It's amazing, and it's kind of mind-blowing, and it's also just generally like there's so much content, and there's so many things to do if you want to like, you know, actually just hang out in cosplay, or like actually go to panels and go to events, or if you just want to be a gremlin.
Yeah. The great thing about Dragon Con is it is all levels also. There are actual walking, talking Transformers walking around that can transform with a human being in costume. Like they are out of control. They need like 6 handlers because they can't see anything, and they're playing music and stuff walking around. And like someone came with a life-size T-Rex, and they had 6 people with these giant poles, and it was like a skeleton that was just walking around of a T-Rex. It was amazing. But like, there's also like a guy in a bathrobe just being like, you know, some guy from Bob's Burgers or whatever, like walking. Like, you don't have to worry about your level of cosplay. And half the time I walk around in jeans and a t-shirt and just like film it and like enjoy it. Nobody cares if you're in costume or not. And it's just one giant party for 5 days.
It's a really high energy thing.
Yeah.
And if you're an introvert, you'll definitely need to take lots of time to yourself. But even if you're an introvert, it's really worth it. I think it is an experience.
Yeah.
Like and it's definitely a convention that is huge and still manages to be accessible for introverts, unlike things like San Diego Comic-Con, which is just very exhausting, which I also do love because it's the con I go to with my dad. So it's like father-daughter bonding time while standing in line and getting a heat stroke.
I think the difference is that like Dragon Con happens in 5 different hotels that are connected to each other, but they're sort of separate spaces. And so it doesn't seem massive, even though it is massive. Whereas Comic-Con, like things are in one giant room. I mean, there's lots of little rooms and stuff, but like the hall and stuff is massive. And like, it's one giant block that is very intimidating looking.
Yeah. The other thing I find really like nicer about Dragon Con is that the hotels are in a way closer, just because since the convention is scattered across 5 hotels, like you can easily go back to your room and recuperate as an introvert. But Comic-Con San Diego especially is so difficult because there are really only 2 hotels that are, you know, close. And even those, if you're at the opposite end of the convention center, it's not close anymore.
Yeah.
So even if you're at the main convention center, you're literally like 10 blocks away from it at times. And so there's not really a good introvert break space when you need it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need it. Even I need it.
Pro tip, the Hilton Gaslamp District is actually across the tracks from Comic-Con, but it's actually right across the way from Hall H. So it's like a 2-minute walk to that. And it's actually the closest hotel, even though that there's like the Marriott is like, you know, next to it. You have to walk way farther to get to it. So that Hilton's actually the magic place to stay.
Definitely.
Who's your costume crush?
Okay, so it really is everybody in our panel over the summer. Like being in that group with you guys was like, like it was just such a moment because I was like, oh my god, all these really cool ladies, and I love them and I follow their content. Now they want to talk to me. Are you sure? And I'm trying to make chins, but Noelle taught me good camera angles. So like,
you can't do the chins with the good camera angle.
Like spiritually, I'm making chins because like these ladies are really like amazing and so wonderful. And they've really given me a safe space to like just talk about anything and not feel judged. And it's really wonderful. As far as, you know, not constantly loving on the inclusivity panel, even though it's really, really difficult. I would have to say Angelica Clayton. So I feel weird calling her my costume crush because I followed her since she was like an actual child, and that's a bit odd for me, but I do love her work and everything she does. I started following her back when she made her Elsa gown, and I remember like finding her content, and it was like my first actual glimpse into historical methods, even though for a while I didn't know that's what she was doing. And I was just like, why is she hand sewing all of this? Like, you could do this by machine. This makes no sense. But she does pretty stuff, but also why? But I don't know. I love all of her stuff. And the fact that she wants to rhinestone and bedazzle and put sequins on everything just like resonates with me. Like, big mood, I get it.
So I'm a friend of hers, and the thing that no one knows about Angela is that she's like the funniest human being that's ever existed. She's a laugh riot. Like,
oh my God.
She doesn't portray it a lot on her channel because she's pretty serious about what she's doing. But like, man,
a little bit sassy in some recent videos, and I've been like, yes, girl, I like it. Like,
she is so sassy, and I am here for every minute of it. She is absolutely hysterical. I love her.
Yeah, every now and then she's been like breaking her regular script format, like in her videos these days, and I've just been like, I see your personality. I see you there. Like,
yeah, I hope I'm gonna do a 20 questions with her, and I'm hoping she lets loose.
Oh man, I hope she does. She's really wonderful. And honestly, like, I admire her a lot for keeping up with this, especially because she started very, very young, being on a very public platform.
She's still very young. She's like 23.
Yeah, she's 23. She's literally, she's my little sister's age. And it's mind-blowing that she can manage something like YouTube and her Patreon and all of this stuff and like be professional about it when she's baby, but she's doing a great job, and I'm really proud of her and really impressed of her. It's weird. I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I will adopt you, Angela. I don't know you, but like, you know, like she's doing great, and I'm very happy for her.
Yeah, me too.
Who inspires you?
Oh, okay. So there are two here. The first one, and sort of like the more recent one, is my fashion teacher from high school. So we had a, sewing class, basically. So fashion 1 through 4. And I didn't get to take fashion 1 until my senior year, by which point I already knew how to sew. But I had actually met this teacher my freshman year, because she was one of the teachers that would like stay with students who stayed late and needed to take the late bus home. So like if you had clubs and your clubs ended before the buses left, you would just like, hang out in the cafeteria with like teachers who were supervising you. And she was one of them at times. And I talked to her, and she basically like taught me a lot about sewing with patterns. Like, people who look at me and tell me that patterns are confusing, I'll never understand that, because I was really, really blessed to have somebody like actually teach me how to use them when I was young enough that the information was just absorbed and not like difficult for her to learn. And she always inspired me, and she was she's so kind and like wonderful and encouraging to all of like the people in her classes. And like she always went above and beyond to help people and encouraged me to stay creative and push for keeping creativity and sewing in my life, even though it wasn't something that my parents valued at the time. And it really meant a lot to me to have somebody advocating for that, advocating to keep that art in my life. And that was really important. The other person is the person who actually taught me how to sew. So my grandmother, my mother's mother, she unfortunately passed away almost 11 years ago now, but she taught me how to sew when I was very, very little. And I don't really remember actually learning from her, but that is how I know. And she's also like a very creative person, and she is somebody who is a lot like me from what I remember and what my mom always says. Like, I'll do like certain things or like eat a certain way, and she'll be like, just like my mom. And I'm like, but yeah, no, it feels really nice to like have that connection with her, even though she's not here. And, I feel like she's like watching us, and I feel like if she could say something to me, that she'd be happy that I'm continuing to create. And yeah.
How can we be better mentors for our community with an aim to retain and recruit?
It's always important to be welcoming. And I think what we can do is we can take the effort to find the people that feel like they don't belong and be kind to them. And to also take the time that when we see people are getting rude comments or disgusting dialogue about how they don't have a space, to butt in there and tell them that they do. The point of responding to, trolls or haters isn't to convince the troll that they're wrong. It's to remind the person that they're trolling that that is not the real sentiment that is there in the community. And that even if it is the sentiment in the community, that there are people who will stand up for them. It's so easy to be a person trying to enter a space and to get scared or intimidated and to build up your courage to start doing something only to get one mean comment and to give it up out of fear or sadness or inadequacy. And if we can just save even one person from that feeling and convince them to stay, that's all that matters.
Well said.
Agreed. Do you have a favorite inspirational quote?
Yeah. I don't know if I would super call it an inspirational quote, but it's a quote from one of my favorite books. And it's from a book called The Two Princes of Bamar, or Bamaray. I've never quite been sure how to say the title. Who knows? It's by Gail Carson Levine. She wrote the Ella Enchanted books. But the quote is, "Step follows step, hope follows courage, set your face towards danger, set your heart on victory." And it makes me feel like you can do it and you can keep going. Whether or not you're fighting against something outside you or something internal, you can do it. And all you have to do is take that step.
Just do the thing.
Mm-hmm. It's the fancy version of just do the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful quote. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thanks.
If you could give new customers one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, now I feel like I have to say just do the thing because it's true.
Well, no, that's my advice. You give yours.
Oh man, I have to think of my own advice, but Noelle, yours is so good. Start with something you love. It doesn't matter if it's too complicated. It doesn't matter if it seems crazy. If you don't love it, you're not going to keep with it. And a hobby like this is challenging. Doing anything is challenging, and learning a new skill, like you usually have to do with costuming, is a lot. And don't underestimate that. But start with something you love, because if you love the character or if you love the costume or if you love the media, you're gonna want to finish it. And a lot of that times when your sewing machine needle breaks and you ran out of needles, so you have to go to Joann's at like 3 a.m., but it's 3 a.m. so Joann's isn't open, so you pull out your hand sewing needles and you're hand sewing this because it's the only thing you can do and the convention's tomorrow. That's when you need to love it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I am making a dress that needs to be done for a Regency retreat in 2 weeks.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I thought I would be a lot further along than I am, but I do have a deadline. So at least that deadline is going to push me towards it. And you're right. I think the fact that I really love this period and want to make this dress is going to keep me interested far beyond this retreat. So
your Regency retreat is on Zoom, right?
Yes.
Means you only need to finish that thing to hear, yo. You don't need to
Know
do that
him.
whole... What?
It's true.
Know him. I don't have to hem
Know
it at
him?
all.
You don't even have to do the skirt part.
Yeah.
You just have to do the top.
Straight up, no skirts.
Yep.
Just, keep the bodice long, tie a ribbon
on
around
this.
it. You're set.
Bonnet or whatever, hair, do
I
that.
have to buy a bonnet. Oh no.
No,
Okay.
It'll be okay. You'll be fine. You're going to do
It's
great.
fine.
No, Etsy. There's Etsy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I can just buy a bonnet. Okay. I'm hyped. I want to offer you some time to send out a message, if you have one, on inclusion, equity, or anything else that you'd like to say to our viewers.
Just, it's a rule of the show, but just be kind. It's such an unobtrusive characteristic. People often conflate nice and kind and consider them the same thing, but they're not. Absolutely not. You should take the time to be kind to people and also to be kind to yourself. Remember that we are not born perfect. We all grow up with our internal biases and we're all struggling against them to this day. So a part of being a good member of a community is also recognizing that you can't be a perfect member of the community, and recognizing that when you make mistakes, that you have to take the time to evaluate them and to work on being better. And be kind to yourself, because when you make a mistake, it doesn't mean you're a terrible person. Making mistakes are human. And as long as you take the time to fix those mistakes and to be better after, that's what matters. Growth is the most important characteristic. And as long as you continue to grow as a person and continue to be kind to the people around you, that's what matters. And that's what will make our communities a better and more welcoming and inclusive space.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you for joining us, Nami. It was really great to get to know you a little bit better today, and also to let other people get to know how amazing you are. Thank you also to our viewers for joining us today. We'll leave a list of Nami's information below for you to follow her on all her social media platforms. Show her some love there.
Please do give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and if you have a customer of color that you think we should interview, use the form that we insert in the description below. And be sure to leave some love for Nami down below. Bye!